Imagine pulling up to a crowded grocery store on a busy Saturday. For the hundreds of thousands of Oregonians who rely on disabled parking placards, finding a spot near the entrance, it's not just a nice to have, right? It's a literal lifesaver. It prevents severe physical exhaustion. But what actually happens when that vital placard expires? Are you ready to renew it before you lose those essential parking privileges? Well, welcome to The Explainer. I'm your host, and today we're breaking down exactly how to renew your disabled parking placard in Oregon so we can keep you compliant, mobile, and totally stress-free.
Okay, so let's dive right into this by looking at a number you definitely want to avoid: $440. Yep, that is the steep Class A fine you could be facing for displaying an expired or invalid placard on your second offense in Oregon. And honestly, even a first offense can hit you with a Class C fine ranging anywhere from $165 to $500. So the stakes, they're very real, and local authorities are absolutely actively enforcing these designated spaces.
So our goal here today is pretty simple. Keep your access, avoid the fines. These placards, they provide incredible convenience and accessibility, but keeping them up to date is absolutely crucial to maintaining your parking privileges. If your placard is, inching closer to its expiration date, or if you've just totally lost track of when it expires, you really need to act now. You want to make sure your daily routine isn't interrupted by a super costly ticket.
Here's a quick look at our agenda for today. First up, eligibility and renewal basics. Then, required forms and documents, submission options and timelines, important rules and pro tips, and we'll wrap it up with our conclusion and final disclaimer.
All right, moving right along to Section 1, Eligibility and Renewal Basics.
Not all disabilities are visible, and Oregon law is actually very specific about the medical criteria here. Qualifying conditions include things like the inability to walk 200 feet without resting, reliance on an assistive device or wheelchair, severe arthritis or neurological conditions, the use of portable oxygen, and severe cardiac or lung disease. Basically, if your mobility is substantially limited by any of these factors, you absolutely maintain your eligibility to renew.
But of course, you can't just walk in and tell the DMV that you qualify, right? You have to provide official clinical proof. And that brings us to the Certificate of Disability. Now, this isn't some extra separate piece of paper you have to track down. It's actually a designated section right there on the DMV application. But it has to be completed, signed, and dated by a licensed healthcare provider. This could be your physician, a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, or even an optometrist if you're qualifying based on a severe visual impairment. Basically, they just have to officially sign off on your condition.
Now here is a super interesting fact that completely busts a major, widespread myth. Even if you have an irreversible, lifelong physical impairment, you do not get a lifetime pass. No way. The law states quite clearly, Oregon law does not offer permanent medical exemptions or lifetime waivers for standard disabled parking renewals. So what does this mean for you? It means you literally must obtain a fresh, new medical certification for every single standard renewal cycle.
Okay, let's jump straight into Section 2, Required Forms and Documents.
When it actually comes time to renew, there are two primary forms you're going to be looking at. You might decide to just print Form 735-265. That's the standard application and renewal for individuals, right from the internet. Or you might use Form 735-7353. Now that one is the physical renewal reminder that the DMV automatically sends to you by mail when your expiration date is getting close. Honestly, either one works perfectly, just as long as your healthcare provider completely fills out that Certificate of Disability section we just talked about.
Let's just break this whole application process down into 3 really simple, actionable steps so you know exactly what to do. Step 1. Obtain that Form 735-2065 or grab your mailed renewal reminder. Step 2. Take that form straight to your doctor and have your healthcare provider sign the Certificate of Disability. And Step 3. Ensure your underlying Oregon driver's license or ID card is currently valid. This is huge because your permanent placard is directly tied to your state-issued ID.
Now caution, here is an absolutely crucial point regarding the timeline, and honestly, a super common mistake you will want to avoid. Your medical certification must be signed and dated no more than 6 months prior to the date the DMV actually receives your application. So think about it. If your doctor signs the form in January, but you kind of forget about it and don't actually submit it until August, well, your application is going to get rejected, and you're going to have to go all the way back to the clinic.
All right, Section 3, Submission Options and Timelines.
The DMV actually gives you 3 super easy submission options once you've got all your paperwork correctly filled out. You can mail your completed application directly to their Salem headquarters at 1905 Lana Avenue Northeast. You can drop it off in person at literally any local DMV field office, or you can even fax it to 503-945-5181. Oh, and here's a quick pro tip for a really smooth process. If your actual driver's license or ID card happens to be expiring at the exact same time, you're going to need to go to a DMV office in person to just renew both of them together.
Let's also quickly clarify the difference in timelines once you're actually approved. If you have a permanent disability, your renewed permanent placard will be valid for up to 8 years, and its expiration date is going to perfectly match up with your driver's license or ID card. Now, on the flip side, if you're just recovering from a surgery or an injury, a temporary placard is valid for up to 6 months. And what's unique about the temporary one is that it doesn't actually require you to hold an organ ID to obtain it.
Okay, now for perhaps the best surprise of this entire explainer, $0. Yep, a really amazing central feature of Oregon's accessibility policy is that the renewal of the disabled parking placard itself is completely 100% free. You won't pay a single dime for the placard. Just keep in mind, though, that if you happen to be simultaneously renewing your underlying driver's license or ID card, the standard renewal fees for those specific ID credentials are still going to apply.
Moving on to Section 4, Important Rules and Pro Tips. Let's take a quick look at some of the practical rules. First up, ownership. The placard belongs strictly to the individual with the disability, right? Not the vehicle, and definitely not the driver who's just transporting them. Second, display. When you're parked, it absolutely must be prominently hung right from your rearview mirror. Third, driving. Now this is a big one for your safety and for legal compliance. The placard absolutely must be removed from the mirror before the vehicle is in motion. You really do not want it creating any blind spots while you drive. And finally, travel. Your Oregon placard is actually recognized nationally and even internationally as long as it displays that standard international symbol of accessibility.
We do have to briefly reiterate the really serious consequences of breaking these rules, though. Misuse, so things like lending your placard to a friend or using it when the disabled individual isn't actually present in the vehicle, that can result in those fines up to $440 we talked about earlier, getting your vehicle towed, and Class C or A traffic violations. And remember, making a fraudulent application, that's an actual crime that can carry potential jail time or a $1,000 fine. So definitely not worth it. Before we wrap up the tips, here is a really specific pro tip for our veterans. Wounded warriors who have a 50% or greater service-connected disability can actually apply for a special Oregon Wounded Warrior placard as well as disabled veteran plates just by providing official VA documentation. It's an absolutely great program, but do note that even if you have the special license plates, you still have to have the proper placard authorization to legally park in those designated disabled parking spots.
And finally, Section 5, Conclusion and Final Disclaimer. Let's do a super quick recap so you are totally ready to take action today. Number 1, every standard renewal requires a fresh, newly signed medical certification from your healthcare provider. Number 2, once you're approved, standard permanent renewals are good to go for a full 8 years. Number 3, the placard permit itself is entirely free, but you do have to keep your Oregon ID valid. And number 4, you can easily submit your paperwork via mail, fax, or just dropping by in person at the DMV.
And as we finish up today, just some quick, necessary legal housekeeping. Disclaimer time. While every effort has been made to ensure accuracy in this explainer, state regulations and DMV processes can and do change over time. So please consult the Oregon DMV directly or a legal professional for the absolute most current guidance before you actually submit your application. Which brings us to our final big question for you. Is your medical certification up to date? Seriously, don't wait until the day your placard expires and risk losing your mobility or having to pay a massive fine. Go check the date on your current placard right now, print out Form 735265 if you need to, and go ahead and schedule that quick visit with your doctor. Thank you so much for joining me today, and here's to keeping your access clear, easy, and totally stress-free.